lunch. They have place to like play on the back. They have a playground, and they do homework. And you go there, it's like they're very thankful for everything that you do for them. They play with you. They like, it's just to be there with them. And when I went, I said, I thought it was just to give food, but it's more than that. It's you get with them and they give you all they have, and they play with you and they smile and they give you thank you for everything that you do for them. And you just go there, and it's very, very special.
So our main goal for the week was to make 27 houses, and we actually built 30 houses. And when we got to each site, the material was there and the ground had already been leveled. And each house got like a simple wooden frame, and then we covered it with tin to keep the water out and everything. The owner was able to choose where they wanted the door and the window, and also which way the roof was sloped for the rainwater. And each house got cement in the bottom of it, which was pretty special for them because most of their houses didn't have cement in them. They were really appreciative for the work we did, and you could tell they were really grateful for it.
Yeah, on the last day, we went back to all the homes we built to dedicate them to the families. We would usually explain to them that someone more than likely donated the funds for that to pay for the materials. Then also it might be in the memory of someone. Then each team had a translator, so it's pretty neat that we had Laura to do it for us. Her name was also Cubana on the trip, so that was pretty neat. We had someone to go with the group to do that for us. We'd also just talk with the family, what does the home mean for them. And usually it did mean the first time they had cement on their floor, not just a dirt floor, or they actually had a dry roof for the first time, or even that they didn't have to sleep in the same room as their chickens. So there's anywhere from a single person in a home all the way up to at least 8 people in a 12-foot square home. We'd also give them a blanket and a Bible that they could take with them, and then also a padlock so they could actually lock their door, just for some safety and security, which they had not had before. And we'd also end by praying with the family, and we just kind of try to communicate and explain to them that even though this home might be really special to them, it's still temporary, but if they keep God in their hearts, that it could be that He would have an eternal home for them. And then you could see the emotion in their faces. A lot of times they're often crying by the end of that. And we even had one family who put a ribbon across their door and wanted us to cut it for them. So it was pretty neat.
Okay, on Sunday we went to Antigua, and the roads there were really cool. They were like a little bumpy, and Laura said that they were ancient roads. But so we went to Antigua, and when we arrived there, the boys, they bought machetes, and then none of the really cool stores were open, so we kind of waited, the girls and I, and Ross kind of led the boys somewhere else, and we followed them for a little bit, but we didn't want to walk anymore, so we went in a restaurant and we waited, and then we finally went in into the vendors, and it was a really cool experience because we could bargain with them. And I remember it took a really long time for me to figure out what I wanted until Kathy said that I have to get going because we have like an hour left. And yeah, there was this one point where I was talking to Kathy and Laura, and there was this guy blowing a flute, and Kathy's like, he's calling for us. So we had I bought something from him, but yeah, it was like a really cool experience, and there was tons of cool stuff there. So, yep.
Well, on Sunday we got to worship at the feeding center, like Laura said. Pastor Lazaro runs the feeding center, so he translated for Pastor Teddy. Pastor Teddy had preached on Matthew 7, And he said that there are two appointments that we will never miss, and that was death and judgment. And at that time, he asked Rex to come up, who led us all week, and he had a story about a girl named Sarah. And Sarah was 17 years old on a mission trip, was on her way. They were going to Africa, and they were in the vehicle headed to the airport 3 miles away, and the driver overcorrected, and the vehicle tipped over, and she died. The cool thing about it is she already had committed her life to the Lord, had already done many things that the fruits of her labor were shown, and she was faithful. As if you know Baptists, they like to do sort of an altar call at the end. That's what we would call it. It was the most amazing experience I ever had. He had us stand and close our eyes and bow our heads, and he prayed that if anybody felt the need to come and accept the Lord. Now, we're worshiping with Guatemalans and us, and he made us intermingle. I mean, because of course all of us gringos were in the back and the Guatemalans are in the front, so we had to disperse ourselves. And you could kind of hear people weeping around you a little bit, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And then he starts saying, you know, it doesn't matter if you're from North America. It doesn't matter if you're from Guatemala. You all need Christ in your heart. The only way to heaven is through Christ. It doesn't matter if you're here on a mission trip from Michigan or from Alabama. It doesn't matter if you live right here in Chmaltenango. You all need Christ. And he knew that that the Spirit was filling this place, because it was just indescribable. And by the end of that service, there were 5 Guatemalans and 5 North Americans that gave their life to Christ. And to see and witness that was truly a blessing. And I just praise God for that.
Okay, this past week I saw a small school this past week whose leaders are Christians, had complete faith and trust in God's provision. The name of the school is My Special Treasure. The school has about 135 kids where their families work in the dump, and after school, these kids also work in the dump to provide for their families. We as a group, we went there. We brought breakfast for them. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we served them breakfast. This school started in a small building at the dump, and they trusted God to show them for a larger building. And the building that they found was across from the church that they attended, and that building was supposed to be an auto hotel. So the person that was going to rent it was going to rent it to an auto hotel, which is like a house for prostitutes and that type of thing. But instead of that, they rented it to the school, like Clay was talking about, for this kids from the dump and that type of thing. So the cost of this school, it costs $1,200 a month to rent. So it's $1,200 of American money to rent this school. And you know, these kids come from the dump. They don't have money for their families to pay for tuition and that kind of stuff. So they had to come up with the money, obviously. Well, they had a person that would give them money every month to pay for the rent of this building. So that was good. It was easy. But what happened was they started looking into the person that was given this money and realized, hey, the values of this person that was given the monies was not a Christian, did not have the same values that they had. So what they did is they had to, they believed what was right to do. They believed that they needed to do this school, they needed to provide for these kids, but they couldn't take money from this person. So what they did is they went to this person and said, hey, we can't take your money. We don't believe in, you don't believe in what we believe. So they decided to basically just go off on their own and trust God that he would provide. So what happened was after that, I think they had enough money through June or July or something like that this year. And what happened was a small, the Sunday school of Pastor Teddy's church wanted to raise money to provide at least 1 month's rent for this school. So by doing that, they wanted to raise 1 month's rent, but they actually raised 3 months' rent. So this is before we left there. And then before we left also on this trip, there was a person from Teddy's church that he called Teddy up before he left and said, hey, I got to talk to you. Will you stop by at our house and come talk to us a minute? So anyways, Pastor Teddy went to go see him, didn't know what he wanted or anything like that, but he said, hey, I want to give $10,000 to some organization in Guatemala and possibly a school. So, of course, Teddy said, well, I think we can probably handle that type of thing. So anyways, we got there, and then like Clay said, Teddy presented them with that money for the provision for this school. And so they were taken care of, not through June or July, but right now they're taken care of all the way through September of 2018. So that's how God provides. I was trying to think of anything else I need to say. So, I think by them doing the right thing, knowing to do the right thing, trusting in the Lord, trusting that, hey, we needed to line ourselves up with the Lord showed up and provided. So, also, I want to thank you guys for several people came forward and wanted to donate money for a house, for dedicating it in honor of somebody or memory of somebody. So I think that's part of the reason why we got more houses to build. So we kept busy this past week, and even though our young people are high school, and there's probably a couple high school kids there too, but most of them were college people, and our young people fit right in. So it was real honor for us to be there too.
So what they're doing now is they're putting a word or a phrase from the story, and they're going to affix that to the rock, because that's our way of kind of attaching our stories to this Ebenezer that's been raised in our presence this morning. So while you're coming down, thank you for going on the trip. That's really great. Thanks for coming up and sharing these stories, and you've raised this Ebenezer for us, and it's a great reminder to you personally, because these are your stories now, but it's a testimony to the rest of us, right, that we live in a world where what is seen so easily dominates what is true, what is most real about this world. And by raising this, you've said there's a lot that's real about this world, but what's most real is what we cannot see, and that's God and his son Jesus Christ, who is the Lord. And you've raised this Ebenezer for us as a reminder to say we can trust in the Lord, because look what the Lord did. You've seen it, right? Houses, food, giving you faith in the midst of doubt to say, I can't see the Lord, but the Lord is at work, and I choose to follow the Lord. So thank you for doing this. That's a meaningful thing for you, but it's meaningful for the rest of us as well. So I'm going to allow you to come down. You can take your seats. We're going to sing of this because we want to, and in the midst of a world where what seems to be most real seems to be what's before us, we say, no, Lord, tune our hearts to sing your praise, and we raise these Ebenezers. So we're going to stand and sing, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. At the conclusion of this song, remain standing, because we're going to have a brief transition and go right into our next song. So let's stand and sing together.